There is a pair of small rocky islands sitting alone in the sea between Korea and Japan. No trees, no towns, just wind, waves, and a few lighthouse keepers. By almost any measure, these islands are unremarkable, and yet they have caused diplomatic crises, broken international friendships, flooded streets with protesters, and divided two nations for over 70 years. This is the story of Dokdo. Or, if you learned about it in Japan, Takeshima, same islands, same ocean, two completely different stories. And today, we are going to understand both. Dokdo, or known in Japan as Takeshima, consists of two main volcanic islands and 89 smaller rocks. Total land area, roughly weighing 19 square kilometers. That's smaller than many city parks. They sit in the East Sea, called the Sea of Japan in many Western atlases, about 87 kilometers from Korea's Uleungdo Island, and about 157 kilometers from Japan's Oki Islands, geographically closer to Korea. But proximity alone, international law tells us, does not determine ownership. Today, South Korea administers the islands. Korean Coast Guard officers are permanently stationed there. Two civilian residents, a retired fisherman and his wife, hold official address registration. Japan, meanwhile, formally claims the islands in every major government document it publishes, and has done so consistently for decades. To understand how two modern democracies, close allies in many respects, ended up here, we need to follow the timeline. The 17th century, Korean fishermen regularly visited the islands. Japanese fishermen did too. In 1695, the Japanese shogunate formally asked the Tottori domain whether these islands were Japanese territory. The answer came back clearly: they were not. The following year, the shogunate issued an order banning Japanese ships from sailing to the islands. Fast forward to 1877, Japan's own highest administrative body, the Dajokan, issued a directive to its interior ministry. Bear in mind that Uleungdo and one other island have no connection to Japan. That one other island refers to what is today called Dokdo. Then came 1905. Japan, in the middle of the Russo-Japanese War, formally incorporated the islands into Shiman Prefecture by cabinet decision. Korea was already under heavy Japanese pressure, 5 years away from full annexation. World War II ended in 1945. Japan surrendered. The question of what happened to all those territories became enormously complicated. In 1951, the San Francisco Peace Treaty was signed, the legal document that officially reshaped post-war Asia. It said Japan would give up its claim to Korea, naming Jeju Island, Jeomundo Island, and Uleungdo. Dokdo was not on the list. That absence, just a few words missing from a treaty, became the crack that has never closed. In January 1952, South Korea's President Syngman Rhee drew a maritime boundary that included the islands on the Korean side. Japan protested immediately. The two countries have been protesting at each other ever since. For most Koreans, this is not a territorial dispute. It is a settled fact. Ask any Korean schoolchild, and they will tell you. Dokdo has been Korean territory since the year 512 AD, when the ancient kingdom of Silla incorporated the island of Usan, which historians identify as today's Dokdo, into Korean territory. Korean textbooks trace a continuous line of documentation. The 1454 Annals of King Sejong list the islands explicitly. A 1531 National Atlas shows them as Korean. Korea's own government in 1900, just 5 years before Japanese annexation, issued an imperial decree formally naming the islands as part of Uldo County. So when Japan incorporated the islands in 1905, Koreans do not see a neutral legal act. They see the opening move of colonial conquest. Korea was under Japanese colonial rule from 1910 to 1945. Those 35 years are not distant history for Koreans. They are living memory passed through families. Language suppression, forced labor, cultural erasure. When Japan says Dokdo is our territory and Korea is illegally occupying it, Koreans do not hear a legal argument. They hear, our colonial actions were legitimate. You were never truly free. This is why the temperature of this debate is so high. This is why Korean politicians across the entire political spectrum, left, right, conservative, progressive, agree on exactly one thing: Dokdo is Korean soil. There is nothing to negotiate, and this is why, even when the two countries cooperate on trade, security, and culture, a single Japanese textbook entry can cancel a summit. Here is something that surprises many people outside Japan. For most of the post-war period, the average Japanese citizen didn't think much about Takeshima at all. That changed after 2005, when Shimane Prefecture passed a local ordinance designating February 22nd as Takeshima Day. Since then, the national government has steadily incorporated the issue into official education. Today, Japanese students learn a different story. They are taught that Japanese fishermen were using these islands throughout the 1600s with the shogunate's knowledge and approval, that the 1905 cabinet decision was not annexation but the formal clarification of sovereignty over an unclaimed land, that the San Francisco Peace Treaty confirmed Japan's rightful ownership, because when Korea asked the U.S. to add Takeshima to the list of territories Japan must relinquish, the United States refused. And they are taught that in January 1952, before the treaty even took effect, South Korea unilaterally drew a line through international waters and seized the islands by force, that Japanese fishermen were fired upon, that hundreds of Japanese vessels were seized, that the current situation is, in Japanese legal understanding, an illegal occupation. For most Japanese people, Takeshima is not a wound the way Dokdo is a wound. It is a principle. The principle is this: if there is a dispute over territory, the appropriate place to resolve it is international law. Japan has repeatedly invited South Korea to bring this case to the International Court of Justice. South Korea has every time refused because Korea's official position is that there is no dispute to resolve. From the Japanese public's perspective, that refusal looks like the behavior of someone who knows they might lose. From the Korean public's perspective, agreeing to go to court means acknowledging a dispute exists, and that itself would be a political defeat. Neither side is wrong about their own logic. Both sides are talking past each other entirely, and behind the legal arguments, there are strategic realities most citizens in both countries are not fully aware of. Japan's position on Takeshima is legally linked to its disputes with China over the Senkaku Islands and with Russia over the Kuril Islands. If Japan concedes Takeshima, it may weaken its legal footing in those other cases. So this small island in the East Sea is connected to a much larger game. We've heard both stories now. A Korean student and a Japanese student both sat in classrooms. Both were taught by teachers who believed what they said. Both grew up certain of the truth. The question I want to leave you with is not, who is right? The question is, how did you come to believe what you believe? Because every single thing we are certain about history, about justice, about who the land belongs to, was taught to us by someone who chose what to include, who chose what to leave out, who chose which year to start the story. Start the Dokdo story in 512 AD, and it's clearly Korean. Start it in 1905, and Japan has a legal case. Start it in 1952, and Korea looks like the aggressor. History is not a list of facts. History is a choice of where to begin. The Korean student is not lying. The Japanese student is not lying. They were both given different starting points. And if you ever meet someone whose history sounds completely different from yours, before you assume they are wrong, ask yourself, where did their story begin? Two small islands, two complete truths, one unresolved conflict. Dokdo, Takeshima, whatever you call them, they are still there. Still watched over, still disputed, still waiting. If this episode made you think about how you learned history and why someone else might have learned it differently, then it did exactly what it was meant to do. Next time, we'll look at another case where memory divides nations, the comfort women issue, and what Korean and Japanese students are each told and not told about one of the darkest chapters of the 20th century. See you then.